Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Draft and Drive. My name is Josh. I'm here with my sister Alexia. We're NASCAR enthusiasts, and today we are going over the race weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Alexia, start us off on O'Reilly. What the heck happened?
So to start off the weekend, Sam Mayer got the pole. There was some caution early on in the race on lap 2, and Jeremy Clements and Connor Zilch got together. Connor Zilch got loose and got into Jeremy Clements. Another caution on lap 14, Cole Custer spun, and then Austin Green spun behind him as well. Stage 1 winner, Justin Allgaier. Sam Mayer went behind the wall with a fuel pickup issue. Caution on lap 58, Jeremy Clements spun again. And then 2 for 2, Justin Allgaier won stage 2. Chase Briscoe ended up hitting the wall and got a flat tire, and then he proceeded to miss pit road. There was no caution. With 82 laps to go, Dean Thompson spun. Another caution with 69 laps to go, Josh Bilicki and Patrick Starpoli got together and both spun. Caution with 52 laps to go, Taylor Gray and Sheldon Creed made contact, and Taylor Gray, who was my race pick to win the race, got into the wall and he was done for the race. And then Justin Allgaier did not get the perfect day because Kyle Larson won the O'Reilly Series race at Las Vegas. Like I said, my pick to win the race was Taylor Gray. He was having a great day, but then he got into the accident that ruined his race. Who was your pick to win the race?
My pick was Jesse Love, my first win in a while here in the O'Reilly series. He got sixth place. And I guess moving on to next week, Darlington, my pick. He's already going to win this year. He's been very good. He and his team have looked very good. Sheldon Creed. Who you got?
So I picked Justin Allgaier. I think that this is a track that he's been strong at, and I think that it's going to be, a series regular that gets the win next week and someone with a lot of experience. But I like your pick because I think Haas has had a really good start to the year. I wasn't necessarily sure before the year started how they would be, but both Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer seem to have extremely fast cars every single week. Obviously, Sam Mayer has gotten to a couple incidents and maybe hasn't gotten the finish that with the car that he deserved, but they've both been really strong to start the year. That brings me into my good surprise of the race. Someone that has had a crappy start to the year was my good surprise of the race, and that is Josh Williams, who missed the last 2 races. He was running around 20th place all day long, and then ended up getting a top 20 finish. Again, hasn't raced the last 2 races, and Josh Williams has got a top 20 finish. And like I said, he was running around 20 to 23rd place all weekend long, or all race long, but a good finish for Josh Williams after a struggle. So that's going to help him a little bit in the points. He's obviously going to be in a huge deficit, but that'll help him a little bit. Who was your good surprise of the race?
My good surprise, and folks, I got to make actually 2 public announcements here. Number 1 is actually a declaration. Audacity video audio player garbage. Don't ever use it. Number 2, and this one race specific, is that I did not actually watch the O'Reilly race. So I am basing my information based off of the recap that I watched on YouTube and the finishing order. So, one from each. Based on the video I watched on YouTube, Jeremy Clements had 2 incidents where he spun or almost spun, saved it both times. Very impressive. Guy looked like he had lost it. I think, was it Zillage got into him the first time? Either way, whatever. Saved both times. Very, very cool saves. And my second one, based off of the finishing order, was Parker Redsloff, finished 12th place. Good finish for him and that team. My bad surprise was actually not race specific. It's not even, driver specific. It's Sam Hunt Racing as a whole. Horrible. Dean Thompson in the race got 31st. Harrison Burton got 17th, which is actually not even that bad considering where they've been at. However, neither one of them has been competitive at all this season. It's kind of like Kyle Busch, when I brought it up last week. When you see him on TV, it's because he's crashing. And it's the same type deal with Sam Hunt Racing. Let's see. Dean Thompson, 27th in the point standings. Harrison Burton, 29th in the point standings. People thought Harrison Burton going over to Sam Hunt was going to be, an increase, a performance boost. It's been anything but. And I was one of those people. Brent Cruz, granted he's driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, much better equipment. However, Harrison Burton and Dean Townsend have started all races, all 5 races. Brent Cruz has started 2 races. He is 25th in points, ahead of both of them. You better be worried. There better be change going on in that organization because you've been horrible. Who's your bad surprise?
And I just want to also add in, don't forget that I said that Brent Cruz, I think, is going to make the chase. He's 25th in points and has only run a couple of races. He's going to start a full-time schedule soon once he turns 18. So I wouldn't count him out yet when you're making your chase predictions. I think that Brent Cruz is going to make it in. But my bad surprise was Rajah Caruth. You didn't hear much about him all day. Now, granted, he was not racing for Junior Motorsports this weekend, but he was racing for Jordan Anderson Racing, but you didn't hear much about him all day. I thought he was going to be a little bit more of a factor, and he was just missing in action. I didn't see him pretty much all race long. I thought he'd be, racing around 10th place. Again, he's not in Junior Motorsports equipment, but I still thought he'd be, at least top 12, but no, didn't see him all race. You ready to move into Cup?
I am ready. So, start off the weekend. Christopher Bell gets the pole, and the race starts, and not even lap 1. We're coming to the start of lap 2. Shane Van Gisbergen has a crazy save after getting loose on the start-finish line. Denny Hamlin takes the lead early. Denny Hamlin leads most of the first stage. However, with about 10 to go, he falls back, and Christopher Bell takes the lead and wins stage 1. On the pit cycle, a classic NASCAR Cup Series Denny Hamlin moment. He speeds on pit road along with Ty Gibbs. They both go to the back, have to claw their way back up. Kyle Larson takes the lead early on. Shout out to my boy Austin Cindric. Starts 31st, almost last. Climbs his way up to 7th place by, I believe, the midway of stage number 2. Heck yeah, obviously didn't matter in the finishing result, but we'll get there. Kyle Larson leads most of the stage. But much like in stage number 1, the person who leads the most laps falls back. In this case, it's Larson, and William Byron catches him and passes him with 5 to go. William Byron wins stage number 2. William Byron takes the lead at stage number 3. Doesn't last long, though, because Denny Hamlin then takes the lead. And then we've got a Fox moment, actually, as the pass to the lead is happening with William Byron taking back over Denny Hamlin. Booth is talking about something or other. Larry Mack praised him. Only one paying attention. He's like, guys, I think we got a battle for the lead here as Byron is overtaking Denny Hamlin. And then not 10 seconds later, right in front of, where these commentators are supposed to be at, right in front of the leaders, Connor Zilch is crashing off of turn 4 onto the front stretch. What are these people doing? No, asleep at the wheel, the commentators are at Fox. But apparently Stenhouse was pinning. Ricky Stenhouse was spinning. Connor Zilch didn't know it. Unclear if Stenhouse had his hand out the window or not. Either way, Zilch crashes. Hashtag bring Larry Mack back to the booth. On the ensuing restart, Denny Hamlin takes the lead. And that is all she wrote besides a late charge by Chase Elliott to make things interesting, but it wasn't enough. Denny Hamlin wins the race at Las Vegas. However, the good times did not end there, folks, because we had a little bit of post-race beef. Daniel Suarez going over and having words with Ross Chastain. They start pushing each other a little bit. They get separated. Chastain walks away with Michael McDowell coming over to back up Daniel Suarez. Ironic considering the fact that Daniel Suarez is the one who chokeslammed Michael McDowell down onto the ground after qualifying. I believe it was in a Phoenix race. But finally, some NASCAR beef. Alexia, what are we thinking about the beef? Who's winning?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I think they've both been involved in scuffles before. If you don't, if you want to remember the Ross Chastain versus Noah Gragson a couple of years ago, Ross Chastain, I believe, landed a punch on Noah Gragson. And then Daniel Suarez, obviously, versus Michael McDowell a couple of years before that. So they both are fighters. I wouldn't necessarily look at them and think that they're both gonna, tear down and one's stronger than the other. But if I had to take my bet, I'd probably put my money on Ross Chastain. But I really don't think it's going to last long. With NASCAR's rules, they don't really like to have boys have at it anymore and people, get in trouble and get heavy fines. And race suspensions, and especially now going back to the chase format, if you miss a race, it's could be crucial to you, right? So a lot of people are already saying Alex Bowman's in trouble and he's missed 2 races. So I really don't think that it's going to have lingering effects to the next couple weeks. I think there'll be a phone call and be like, hey, like, we got to settle this down. I obviously didn't agree with what happened on the track, but we just got to, let it die here. The one thing I will say, though, that was nice to see at the race at Las Vegas is that it was nice to see Denny Hamlin's mom at the racetrack. It was nice to see her walk out and celebrate with him on, well, I guess it wasn't Victory Lane, but their little post-race interview on the track. Obviously, the Hamlin family's had a disastrous 2025, but, she was obviously involved in the fire as well, and she had some injuries, but it was awesome to see her walk out on the track, and I can't remember her ever walking out on the track before when he got a win, but everyone kind of learned who she was and what she looked like after the fire happened, and when you saw her walking out, everyone's like, oh my god, that's Denny Hamlin's mom. So just want to bring that up. I thought that was a nice moment. But I know you had Denny Hamlin as your race pick this weekend. I think that's our first Cup Series pick that we've both gotten right. I think I have 2 right so far on O'Reilly, but this is the first Cup Series winner that we've gotten right. So you picked him. I picked Kyle Larson, who got 7th place. So now you pick pick first for next week going to Darlington. So who's your pick at Darlington next week?
It'd be very easy to go with the hot hand at the moment, which is Denny Hamlin, but I'm going to go with the hot hand as of the first 3 races of the season. Tyler Reddick will ride the wall and will win Darlington, continuing he in 23XI's hot streak. Who do you got?
So I'm going to go with Chase Briscoe. He won there last year. Obviously, he's had a dreadful start to the season, but he got a nice top 10 finish this weekend in the Cup Series, but then he also got a nice top 10 finish in the O'Reilly Series. Darlington's one of his best tracks. I think they're building some momentum, and I think Chase Briscoe is going to get his first win of the year. You want to do our good surprise, bad surprise of the race?
We can do that. My good surprise, I've actually got 3 of them, breaking the rules a little bit. Number 1, Brad Keselowski was the worst RFK car most of the day, has been the worst RFK car most of the season. However, finishes 10th place. Very good result for him after not especially running that great all day. Zane Smith is the only life force keeping Front Row Motorsports ticking. They have been garbage, abysmal, bottom of the barrel all year. Noah Gragson, horrible. Todd Gilliland, pretty terrible. I don't think he's run good anywhere. Zane Smith, the only guy who's capable of getting a top 20, gets a 14th place finish, continuing his good start to the year. And Austin Dillon, 12th place finish. Shame RCR can only get 1 good car per week. This week, it seems it's going to Austin Dillon. Would like to see Kyle Busch get a few more, especially at racetracks that he could most likely do well at. But that was my good surprise. What about you?
So I also wrote down Brad Keselowski and Austin Dillon, but I did something a little bit different this week, and I did 2 different teams. So I did one for my good surprise and one for my bad surprise. So Chevrolet changed their body this year. I didn't necessarily think that Hendrick Motorsports looked as strong as I thought they would be at Phoenix last week, but I thought Hendrick Motorsports looked phenomenal yesterday. So Chase Elliott ended up getting 2nd place, William Byron finished 3rd place, Kyle Larson 7th place, and then Justin Allgaier 25th. So the Justin Allgaier 25th, let's not forget though that he was racing in the 30s most of the day, running 2 laps down. He did end up getting a top 25 finish, finishing 25th, but I think Hendrick Motorsports looked phenomenal yesterday. Byron at one point seemed like he had one of the fastest cars. Chase Elliott looked like he was going to go for the win. Looked like Kyle Larson was going to get the Stage 2 finish until Byron ended up getting the Stage 2 victory. But yeah, I thought Hendrick Motorsports looked really strong all day long. You want to do your bad surprise of the race?
Sure. My bad surprise of the race was last year's winner, Josh Berry. Where was he? The Penske's were pretty horrible all day. I mean, Austin Cindric started basically last. He climbed his way up to 7th, still winds up the worst Penske car, aside from Josh Berry. What else is new? But you would think that the 21 car would have a little bit more after, winning it last year, but they wound up 31st, garbage all day. Was running there all day just on pure speed. Terrible. What was your bad surprise?
So my bad surprise, again, I did the team thing this week, was Spire Motorsports. And let's not forget, allegedly, Joe Gibbs Racing said that Spire Motorsports stole their setups for Las Vegas last year. Well, if Spire stole their setups for Las Vegas last year and were bringing him to the race this weekend, the setups were nothing short of shit. Because Daniel Suarez got 18th place, Carson Hocevar got 22nd place, and Michael McDowell got 26th place. You didn't hear about them all race long, except for the fact with Daniel Suarez being involved in that altercation after the race. They were absolutely horrible. You generally hear something about Carson Hocevar during the race. You really didn't hear much except he might have blown a tire, but they were missing all race long. Again, if they allegedly stole these setups, the setups fucking sucked.
Yeah, it is something to be said that, the only time you get mentioned is when you're having a confrontation on pit road. But yeah, trust me, I've been clamoring for it. I've been in a really bad dry spell. This will hold me over for now, but here's hoping no more $75,000 fines get passed out. We can get back to boys have at it, because that's what NASCAR fans want. Okay, we are red-blooded Americans, and I want to see some fist to face. Let's see.
The problem is most of these drivers are scrawny short guys. It's two scrawny short guys trying to fight. One punch, they're knocked out.
Nice SpongeBob.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all, I mean, I can't talk, but they're all not. Nobody's a fighter there. Maybe Gregson, maybe Suarez a little bit. So
where the hell's Ryan Newman when we need him? Ryan Newman, you know that guy could. You remember the Clint Boyer fight when he was in the car and was going like this in his windshield? That man walked out like nothing even fazed him.
Don't bring that fight up. All right, you brought it up and now we're getting into it. Clint Boyer, by the way, the reason he was mad is because he spun on the cooldown lap off of Ryan Newman. The guy came down on a Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman basically on the apron. Clint Boyer comes down, wrecks himself on the apron on the cooldown lap, then gets out of his car, helmet still on, Ryan Newman still in his race car, unable to fight back, goes bang, 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 hops out, runs away as soon as Ryan Newman gets out. Runs away screaming. Also, he thought Ryan Newman was on a lap down. Ryan Newman was on the lead lap. And you could see it because Ryan Newman goes, "I was on the lead lap, you dumb fuck." And it was really great. I remember it vividly. Nobody asked for that. All right. Anyways, 36 for 36 race pick. I had Ryan Preece. He got 11th place. Was running very good all day. Running inside the top 10 most of the day. So the 11th place is probably not the best of what he wanted. But still a solid finish for him and RFK. Who did you have?
Well, last week I said on the podcast that I was thinking I was going to go with Kyle Busch, but I still wasn't 100% sure. And Kyle Busch had a horrible day. But who also had a horrible day is who I elected to go with, and that was Noah Gragson, who got 30th place. Regardless, I ended up shooting myself in the foot because both were awful. As you said earlier, that Front Row Motorsports has had a horrible start to the year, and I really honestly thought when Noah Gragson moved over from Junior Motorsports from O'Reilly Series, going to Cup, that he was going to be someone that it's going to take a little bit, but he was going to help Front Row Motorsports, and he was going to, kind of like Michael McDowell, like he was a really good driver in the O'Reilly Series and maybe take them to a new level. Well, Noah Gragson has had nothing short of horrible luck and horrible finishes, and I feel like he is honestly someone that's on the chopping block, and I never would have thought that. I thought he was going to be someone that was an up-and-coming driver, and no, he's been horrible. He is someone that I just kind of like... when I knew I was going to have to use him one time this year because I didn't even know where to put him, and I thought that this might be one of the best races for him. No, horrible. 30th place. So you obviously did better than me. RFK had a great weekend. I was someone that was a little worried about them in my season preview, but they got 2 top 10s, and then Ryan Preece obviously was their worth, but with an 11th place finish, I think RFK will take that. But with that, you get the first pick for 36 for 36 next week. So who's your driver?
My 36 for 36, going with yet another underdog. However, at Darlington, I don't think he'll be an underdog. He is very good here. It's his favorite track, I believe. It's probably his best track. Eric Jones in a Legacy Motor Club shitbox. He and John Hunter Nemechek are both very good at Darlington. I'm picking Eric Jones. It's going to happen. Former winner here. It's going to happen.
Oh, thanks for the segue. Okay. My 36 for 36 is going to be Brad Keselowski. So Brad Keselowski won there a couple of years ago. This is one of his best tracks. Again, RFK has some momentum, and I think that Darlington is a great track to have use Brad Keselowski on for 36 for 36. So yeah, Big Bad Brad. He's my guy this week.
Big Bad Brad, broken femur.
Yep. You ready for some NASCAR news?
Yeah, before we do that, I just wanted to mention one little just off track kind of thing was I'm very impressed with Chase Elliott this year. He's doing kind of exactly what I thought he was going to do with this new chase format, is just consistently getting good finishes, stacking up them points, and I think he's easily top 5 in the points. If he might be like second or something like that. I don't know, whatever it is. Doing very good. Had race winning speed, last week was coming on strong. If this race is 5 laps longer, we're talking about a Chase Elliott win. Very impressed with him. And I just wanted to bring that up. However, we can now get into NASCAR. Bit of a small segment this week, okay? Hear me out. Spire owner Jeff Dickerson releases a declaration calling out Joe Gibbs Racing for being upset with Gapehart trying to get Joe Gibbs Racing sponsors to switch to Spire, saying Joe Gibbs Racing does the same thing and has 2 examples of it. One, at Phoenix, most recently, 2 weeks ago, they said that Joe Gibbs Racing tried to filch a sponsor belonging to a team in the O'Reilly series and said that, if they got that sponsor, then it would have crippled that team. So Joe Gibbs Racing shouldn't be complaining about it. Also, he said that Joe Gibbs Racing tried to get a Spire anchor sponsor to sponsor Joe Gibbs Racing car last season. According to a motion by Spire, Gabehart's salary increased with Spire Motorsports, which indicates that his role is different than what it was at Joe Gibbs Racing, therefore he should be allowed to continue working. Joe Gibbs Racing says in a defense that it is indisputable that Gabehart took pictures on his cell phone of his computer and saved 200 files in a folder called Spire. They claim that even with his new higher position at Spire, there's too much overlap with what he's doing at Joe Gibbs Racing and should not be allowed to work until whatever the cooling off period is. And lastly, this is related but not exactly the same. If you remember last year, there was the outrage, when Richard Childress was testifying on behalf of, whatever the lawsuit was last year. NASCAR brought up in their testimony that Richard Childress attempted to sell his race team. He explored selling it. And, we found out that the potential buyer was Bobby Hillin Jr., a former race car driver. And interestingly enough, the person that Hillin is represented by, the same firm that NASCAR used. So some info very likely was sent over, which was supposed to be private info from Bobby Hillin Jr., the firm's, case on that, or, whatever the info they had for that, for potentially him buying it, probably got transferred over to the NASCAR side when they were looking for information, obviously, about the lawsuit, which is not a good look for the attorneys if they're handing over information that's supposed to be confidential. Not a good look at all. And that is about it for our NASCAR news for the week. Like I said, I know you got a few other topics that we can end on.
Yeah, so Jimmy Johnson and Legacy confirmed that they're going to have a 3rd charter next season. There were rumors floating around, and I think someone said it earlier on in the year, it might have been Jimmy Johnson, but he once again confirmed they will have a 3rd charter next season. Only other thing I have is that there is no mandatory throwbacks next weekend at Darlington. RFK will still contribute and do some schemes to honor Greg Biffle, but I wanted to get your thoughts on throwbacks at Darlington. Are they still relevant? Is it still fun to do? Or does it just kind of feel like it was being forced in our face and overdone?
I can see... Let me back up. First off, Chase Elliott fans, pull the blanket over your ears, okay? It's about to get rough. Chase Elliott complains about it one time. Next year, it's gone. I don't know what's going on with that, but I don't love seeing that. I like the throwbacks. I think it's good to throw back to, a nice time. It's, generates a lot of buzz. Everyone's super excited about it. The people who don't like it, generally, actually, is Chase Elliott and Team Penske, because they didn't like getting flack for not having one. Joey Logano very rarely had one. Austin Cindric had, I think, his first one last year with, the Dale Earnhardt throwback. they don't like the pressure of, feeling like they are forced to run a throwback. And I say, get with it. It's 1 week out of the year. Stop being a little baby back bitch. Run a throwback. It could be Joey Logano throwing back to, like, I don't know, his first cup win or something like that. I don't know. Do something stupid. Like, who cares? Just do something. It's supposed to be a fun event. But I understand that, like, folks are like, oh, we're running out of paint schemes. Are you aware we just celebrated NASCAR's 75th anniversary? You're telling me you cannot find a paint scheme anywhere? Brother, please. What do you got to say about it?
So I kind of see kind of what you're saying. I do kind of feel like it was forced down our throats. Especially like they would have like different stages when an older driver would come into the booth and they would, join. If it was for 10 laps, it's one thing, but it was always just like a little dry and a little bit forced when they would join the booth, and it just kind of felt like it dragged on and on and on, and you're going through the stage and you're like, oh my god, good morning. So there that part of it, I'm kind of like, all right, we've seen all the older drivers that come in. That feels like a little force it was thrown in our face, but I do think that it's fun. Like, it's something fun, and I agree. No, they're not out of paint schemes, and these teams hire these creative people, social media managers, and creative department. How the hell did these creative departments not able to think and contribute one paint scheme out of the year for one throwback? No, like, you can find them if you needed to. So for that, no, they're not running out. One thing is, I do kind of miss that it was on Labor Day weekend. I don't know why, I just kind of felt like it was a bigger holiday, if you will, on Labor Day weekend than a random weekend in March or April whenever they would have the Darlington race. But, fine, let's take a year off and let's see where we're at in another year from now. I agree that it shouldn't be forced, but I just think it's fun, something fun for NASCAR to do and celebrate their history. Like I said, it's 1 weekend out of the year, so I'm fine taking a year off. Let's see where we're at next year.
Yeah, and touching back on what you said about, bringing them in the booth and how it felt a little long. It will feel a little long when the people you're bringing to the booth are sleepier than the current Fox booth that we have now, which is tough to do. When you're bringing in when you're bringing in Richard Petty, Terry Labonte, Bill Elliott, yeah, it's going to be a snooze fest, especially if the on-track racing is all strung out because, the restart happens, it's great, it's fun, and then nobody can do nothing, and it's just you're just watching a freight train. It's gonna be a little boring. But when Carl Edwards is in the booth, everything's great. However, with his new deal with Prime, I highly doubt that's gonna happen again. So I say, you want to throw back? Let's put Larry Mack. Hashtag put Larry Mack back in the booth. I want it trending, folks. This is the crime. Fox would fix at least 50% of my issues they have with them. You put Larry Mack back in the booth. My goat belongs there. What else you got for me?
That was pretty much it on my end. I didn't think Fox had necessarily a great broadcast this week. I think some people are probably counting down the days until Prime takes over. But yeah, I didn't, the booth isn't known for having great chemistry anyway. But this week I thought it was tough. Obviously they missed that crash for a little bit with Zilich, and then finally it was like, oh, crash! But yeah, I didn't think Fox had a great weekend this weekend, obviously. But I will say I think they've been better than last year, so it is an improvement. It's just not great. I'm still kind of like counting down the races until we get to Prime. I'm one of those people. I also like Lee Diffie and NBC, but I know some people don't like him, they're like, get that Brit out of the booth! And the guy's not even from England, but we'll see. We'll just gotta get over the hump of Fox, and then we'll have a good rest of the race season.
Yeah, you gotta get through the bad to get to the good. NASCAR fans will never beat the allegations as long as Lee Diffie is a commentator, and it's through no fault of his own. He's probably, I would say, probably the best that there is in terms of lead commentators, in terms of motorsports, but yeah, the dumb redneck section of the fan base is gonna go wild with that one. And I think it's easy to criticize the Fox booth right now because there were so many other issues with Fox that they did fix. We're missing all the action. What's going on all these commercials? Now they're side by side, and that's fantastic and it's great. And so now we're like, well, what's obviously your brain's like, sometimes, the negative part of your brain takes over. You're like, okay, what's next? Well, next part, that's probably the most obvious, is the booth is bad, and it has been bad. Mike Joy, legend. Keep him there. The other two, get rid of them. Throw in a pot of scalding water. Gone. And it's, these moments that, like with the Zillich crash, it's like, I think it's, a symptom of people looking at the monitor and not looking at the racetrack that's 2 feet in front of them, especially when they're driving 2 feet in front of them. They're probably looking at the monitor, and they saw the crash at the same time we all did, because it was on the screen, because they're all watching the same monitor, not the racetrack. You fix the booth, then we can talk about other things about Fox, but I think that is the most pressing issue right now with Fox and their NASCAR coverage. And that's it for me, unless you got anything else.
Nope, that's it. The end. Let's go to the lady in black.
And folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week recapping the race at Darlington. Subscribe if you're new. Bye-bye.